Hello? Hello?
At the tone, please record your voice message.
Well, we got some answers. Maybe not all the answers we wanted to hear or any answers that made sense, but we got some answers. Okay, so I just got off the phone with the SBA. I was on hold for a few hours, but it's worth it because I have some clarity. I have some answers for some of the most popular questions I've been getting. And I just want to let you know that the guidelines around the EIDL loan and the PPP loan are like a riddle wrapped up in an enigma, or enigma wrapped up in a riddle. Whatever is more confusing, that's what it is. So I'm just going to shed some light on some of these questions I've been getting. And now I know how to answer your questions with a little bit more clarity. What they're actually explaining to me very clearly, and the gentleman made it very clear, is that you cannot make any type of enhancements to your business.
The loan is designed to keep you in the same position you would have been had this not happened.
It can only be used for normal expenses that you would have had throughout your course of normal business if the pandemic would have never happened. So with that being said, let's jump into our first question. So our first question comes from Edward Steve. Edward Steve says, can I improve my company website? So normally I would have said, yeah, you can probably improve your company website because that's an expense your business would have had if this pandemic were not to happen. It's a normal expense. But what I was just told is that you cannot make any enhancements. So where I was going to go with this answer is that if you are going to hire someone to work on your website, just make sure that they're from the United States and then you don't hire someone from outside the United States. Well, it appears that that's not 100% correct. There are no enhancements allowed. I asked the gentleman specifically, can I update my website? And this is what he had to say. Okay, so if I needed to make an update to my website and I don't have the ability to do that, I wouldn't be able to use the money to pay someone to fix my website.
Right, you could do it out of your own pocket, but not out of the EIDL money.
Okay, so not out of the EIDL money, okay. So Edward, unfortunately, no. It appears that you cannot use this money to update your website. What you could do is update it yourself and maybe pay yourself a little bit extra for doing that. Talk to your accountant before you do that. I'm not 100% sure if that's even allowed because I did find out something else, which I'm going to get to towards the end, and it has to deal with how you can pay yourself. You're not going to want to miss that, so stick around. Next question comes from Denise Kokoran. So Denise says, do I have to report my EIDL loan money to the PPA since it's technically a loan and not income? Well, I want to give you some good news on that, and it appears that you do not have to report your EIDL loan to the PUA, but he did specify that it may differ from state to state. Yeah, so let's say I have unemployment. I have the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, and I get the EIDL loan, but I don't use the EIDL loan to pay myself. Do I have to report that to the PUA?
Now, in your case, you're not using it to pay yourself. So
Correct.
I don't know if that qualifies under your state regulations.
Sure,
so that's
because
something you're going to have to verify with them. I don't think so, because I think it only applies to payroll type income.
Yeah, salaries.
So you need to clarify with your local agency.
But what he explained is that since it's not income, you don't have to report it to PUA, especially if you don't use it for your own payroll. If you don't pay yourself with it, then it does not conflict with the PUA. So hopefully that sheds some light on that subject. Hey, listen, I heard right from the SBA's mouth. I'm not making this stuff up. So, if you want, you can check for yourselves as well. And one other question, can I buy a new or used computer with loan to replace my current one, which is old and slow? Again, I would have said previously, yes, you could try to, spend this money on something like rent or normal expenses first before you buy out of the U.S. products. But it appears that what they're telling me is you cannot make any enhancements to your business, and that may include a new computer. Now, I'm not 100% sure because it seems that every time you call the SBA, you get different answers. But the gentleman I just spoke to said you cannot make enhancements. Getting a new computer could be an enhancement. But if your computer is broken and you can't work without a computer, then that's not an enhancement. That would be a replacement. So that should be okay. Call the SBA first. Talk to your accountant, obviously. All right, so our next question comes from Antonio Carlos. So what Antonio is stating is that he's a sole proprietor, residential landlord. Can I use the EIDL loan to repair and replace my rental property air conditioners? Again, no enhancements are allowed. but if the air compressors or the conditioners, air conditioners, whatever it is that you have in that property, if they burn out and they're kaput, they don't work anymore, you can replace them, but you can't upgrade them. So it's not for enhancements, it's just to keep your business running. So if providing air conditioners for your properties is something that is necessary and not an enhancement, then yes, you could do that. That's what I was just told by the SBA. So hopefully Antonio Carlos has shed some light on that topic for you. Next question we have is from Ray Young. So what Ray is asking is, can you pay off your 2019 business taxes with the EIDL loan? Thanks for all the info. So thank you, Ray. I was just told by the representative at the SBA that you cannot use the EIDL loan money to pay for your 2019 or 2018 any expense prior to the pandemic when it was declared a disaster. Can I pay off my business taxes that I owe on my business with the EIDL loan? Like say like I owe 2019 taxes?
No.
Okay, so I cannot use it to pay off any taxes.
Taxes, no, sir.
You cannot use it for any expenses prior to that. So that includes paying your business taxes for 2019. So unfortunately, Ray, you're gonna have to figure out a way to pay those on your own. It's not an expense that the SBA will cover. All right, so let's talk about our next question here. So next question comes from Sabrina Scott. What Sabrina is asking is, she was approved for the EIDL loan and I'm an owner of a company and not on payroll. Can I put myself on payroll now that I have the loan? My answer to this previously was that yes, you can use the EIDL loan money to pay yourself a salary if you're going to be one of the employees of the company. But it can only be done so in one or two ways. If prior to that pandemic or through the disaster that was declared, you were an employee of the company. If you were giving yourself distributions, you were not an employee. You're an investor, you're an owner, you're an officer. But if you were giving yourself a salary, a W-2 salary before, and you stopped because you didn't have any money, now you can continue paying yourself that salary. It's not an enhancement. You're getting it back to where it was prior to. Now let's just say you had 2 employees that were W-2 and you didn't pay yourself at all. But then you had to let go of one of your employees because you couldn't afford to keep both of them on the books. You kept one and then you didn't pay yourself a salary. If you go back and ask that employee to come back on the books and they refuse to and you can't find someone to take their place, you can actually take that employee's place and pay yourself the amount of salary you were paying that employee. So that's the only loophole around that. So if you don't have any employees prior to this and you weren't paying yourself prior to this, you're not going to be able to use the EIDL loan money to pay yourself a salary. Unfortunately, that's what I was just told. So it seems the more research I do about this EIDL loan, the more restrictive it actually becomes. The next thing I want to talk to everyone about is something that may or may not become an issue for you if you also applied for the PPP loan. So there is in one of the SBA's publications something very clear here that states that you have to refinance your EIDL loan with your PPP money in the event that you used some EIDL loan money or all of it to pay salaries. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you got your EIDL loan in May 1st and you got, I don't know, call it $50,000. And you used all of that $50,000 to pay for salaries in the entire month of May. So now let's say it's May 27th and you just got approved for your PPP and you plan on using that money for your business. The first thing you have to do with that money is actually reimburse the EIDL loan that you have for all of the money that you used on payroll. That's the first thing you need to do. If you used it all on the payroll, then you have to refinance the entire thing, pay off that entire thing, get rid of that loan. If you used a portion of it, you have to pay off that portion with your PPP loan. So let's just say you had a $50,000 loan, you spent $25,000 on payroll, the other $25,000 is still sitting pretty in your bank. You have to take the money from your PPP, whether if it was $25,000 or whether if it was $100,000 or $200,000, you have to take whatever money you spent on payroll and pay that money back. So be very careful with that for you. Some of you out there who are paying for your, for those of you out there who are applying for the PPP and you have accepted it, these two loans come with so many restrictions and so many guidelines that are all over the place that is very difficult for us to actually get to the bottom of anything. And I do apologize. I want to apologize right now in advance. I want to apologize in any previous videos if I have misspoken about some of these guidelines, because they're so shrouded in mystery and there's no real clear answer you get. I guarantee you, if I sit on the phone for another few hours and I get another representative on the phone, I guarantee you I'll get different answers. I was being told by other viewers that they were calling the SBA, and the SBA was telling them that you can buy fixed assets. A fixed asset, remember, is a car, a house, machinery, that you can use the EIDL loan money to buy fixed assets. And he said he spoke to a level 2. That's someone who is not just just a regular Joe who got hired just to take the out and the inbound calls because there's so many people calling. This is someone who's supposed to be knowing what they're doing. But they're telling that individual that yes, you can buy fixed assets. And I just called and asked them, hey, listen, can I buy fixed assets with this? And this is what the gentleman said. Yeah, I'm calling just to confirm that I cannot buy fixed assets with the loan.
Right, exactly.
Okay, good. All right. Just want to make sure that, because someone else told me something different. Okay, so now that we're pretty clear on the fixed assets issue, I want to talk to you about timelines. So when it comes to timelines, no two timelines are going to be exactly the same. Myself, I applied when the EIDL loan first became available. I had also one of my partners apply for the same loan at the same time, but I got mine 2 weeks ahead of theirs. They literally just got theirs last week, and I've had mine now for a few weeks. So it's not going to be the same for everyone, and it doesn't have anything to do when you applied or when you didn't apply. Or some people are just starting to get emails now, and I'm being asked, how long is it between emails? How long is it between the time that you sign your documentation and you get the money? If you're looking for an answer, I'm going to tell you it could be anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks in between each process. But we don't know. It could be a couple of days. It could be a couple of weeks. Just know this. If you got an email saying that you were accepted for a certain amount, you're good. You're sitting pretty. If you got a grant, consider yourself lucky, because a lot of people are not getting grants and people aren't going to get anything at all. And the money's dried up right now. So if you're watching this video and you think you're going to go apply for an EIDL loan right now, that ship has sailed. There isn't any funding available for you right now unless you're in agriculture or you're a farmer or you intend to get into that industry. There isn't any money available for you at this moment, unfortunately. But stay tuned, because with the new stimulus package that's being looked at right now, or one of the future stimulus packages, may include more funding for the EIDL loan. And if there is, then you'll be able to apply for that, and we'll be better prepared to answer any of your questions at that moment in time. So with that being said, I just want to talk to you about a couple other things that I found here that I found to be very helpful. One of them is a publication I found. It's basically a slideshow where the ESBA broke down what they allow the funds to be used for. And according to them, they can be used for fixed debts. What are fixed debts? Fixed debts are things such as car payments, payments on machinery, anything that's the same payment every month, your rent, your mortgage, anything like that is a fixed debt. Now, it cannot be something that, for instance, the mortgage, you can't take the money and pay off your mortgage. You can't go and pay off your debt. You can only pay the monthly obligation around it. So that's what you can use to use it for, to pay for fixed debts. Now, the next thing is payroll. You can use it to pay for payroll. So if you have people on the books, or if you are on the books, you can use it to pay yourselves. You can use it for accounts payable. So if you have some invoices that came in that you need to pay for, you can use it for that. You cannot use it for notes payable. Notes payable are, for instance, if you go to a bank and they give you a loan and that loan is for 2 years, 3 years, and it's recorded, you cannot use it for that. You can only use it for anything that's under a year's time, and that would be an accounts payable. Some bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. So if you had bills that needed to get paid, but you couldn't, such as utilities, such as maybe credit card bills or things like that you normally would have been able to pay for, but you couldn't because of the disaster, that you can use it on. So I'm right in the same boat with everyone else. I have that money too. It's parked in the bank. I haven't even spent it because there's so much mystery. There's so much why is it so difficult for us to understand? They're just handing these loans out and they're telling us we can be in trouble and we have to maybe pay this money back 1.5 times of the original loan amount, but they're not really giving us a guidebook of frequently asked questions. If you go to the SBA's website, which I'm sure you have, there is no frequently asked questions about what this money can be used for. They're just expecting you to figure it out yourselves. That's very unfair. Leave it down below in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this loan. Are you thinking about giving it back? Are you prepared for the aftermath in case you have to pay it back? Tell us how you feel about it. And if you have additional questions that you want me to answer, by all means, leave it down below. I'm trying to get back to as many questions as possible. I also want to remind you that we are trying to raise funds to feed hungry families and children in the United States. I'm going to leave a link down below to that. Also, if you would like to join our real estate team, we're at 50 states all around the country. I'm going to leave a link down below where you can schedule a call with me and we can talk more about that. So once again, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate everyone's support and all the comments you guys have been leaving us. And if you're enjoying this, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, share this with a friend. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.